Hey, what's up, guys? So I've had to spend some money in the form of repair bills to the Daytona that I was not anticipating. So the Daytona hasn't been running up to par lately, and decided to pop open the hood and take a look underneath, and noticed some moisture under the hood that I thought probably shouldn't be there. It looked kind of oily, and it was on the, some of the hoses around the supercharger area, around the blower, and so I decided to fire it up because I had a flashback to an issue I had last year with a coolant line for the supercharger leaking, and there was a day where I saw smoke coming out from under the hood, and popped hood and checked it out, and it ended up being a small little hole in one of the coolant lines. It was rubbing on the header, wore a little hole into the hose. So I decided to I checked the tank, the coolant tank, and it was plumb full. So I'm like, I can't be leaking coolant. So I decided to set a GoPro in the engine bay to see if I could get a better look at what was going on underneath there. Sure enough, when I started revving it up, well, check this out. So I see that smoke, and I automatically think it's another hole in the coolant line for the supercharger. So I call up the shop and schedule an appointment to have it taken in, and tell them, hey, I think I got another hole in my coolant line. We might have to, do some type of a shield to keep it from, touching the header. And so anyway, I take the car in, and they give me a call a day later, and they tell me that it's actually the transmission oil cooler line was leaking. So I was like, yeah, do that 100%. That needs to be taken care of. So I'm thinking, good, that's, I can handle that. I'll get my car back in a couple days, be good to go. So then I get another call from the shop. They're like, hey man, you got an exhaust leak. Exhaust leak? They're like, yeah, your header gaskets are leaking. I'm like, shit, well, all right, let's get them replaced. So they had to replace the header gaskets. I'm like, Jesus, this is turning into a money pit here. I hope this is where it ends. Not the case. I get another phone call, and they tell me that they don't like the way it's running. It's running rough, and they're trying to figure out what's going on here, and they're going to get back to me. I'm like, okay, great. So they get back to me. I think it was the next day, and they're like, well, your ignition, we got an ignition coil that's bad. I'm like, okay, well, I guess I've got to take care of that too. So I actually had some spark plugs that I was planning on putting into the Daytona, and so I'm like, well, let me bring the spark plugs in that I have, and when you're replacing the coil pack, you can go ahead and put the new spark plugs in. And they're like, all right, sounds like a good idea. So I took the plugs in, dropped them off, and I'm like, this is the end of this. It's the end. There can't be anything else wrong. There's no way. I'm gonna have my car back. I'm gonna be able to enjoy driving down the highway, cruising down the highway. And boy, that wasn't the case either. All right, so I get another call from the shop, and I'm expecting this to be a call. Your car's done, running great, come pick it up. And unfortunately it wasn't. So they're like, got another, we're tearing into the car, and we found another, the deeper we found another issue. And your cats are basically 100% plugged. I'm like, oh, okay, so what are new cats gonna run me? $1,800 for cats, catalytic converters for this car. I'm like, yeah, that ain't gonna happen, just cut them off. How much you gonna cost me to have you just cut them off, get rid of them? $300. I'm like, sounds a lot better than $1,800. I don't need the cats on it. Let's go ahead and do it. So that ended up being the last issue they found with the Daytona. So the next call I got from the shop was, hey, your car is done, you know, come pick it up. I'm like, great. So the Daytona is still not running perfect. So what's gonna happen is I'm gonna take it back into the shop, and they're gonna do a retune on it. And hopefully this time, last time they didn't take any dyno footage. So hopefully this time I have some dyno footage of the Daytona to show you guys, and we'll be getting a little more horsepower out of this thing and torque. All right, so I'm going to show you the nice bill I got that has majorly cut into the Hellcat mod funds. So here is the bill. All right, here's a rundown of the bill here. Exhaust gasket, $13.83. Bremflex exhaust header gasket set, $37.59. Transmission oil cooler hose, $22.98. Shipping on that was $38.51. Here's a big one. Remove and replace exhaust manifold gaskets that were leaking. Remove and replace charger drain line and resealed fitting that was leaking oil, $1,080. Oil filter, $4.99. Oil, $69.93. Ignition coil, $66.68. Remove and replace spark plugs, one ignition coil. Also did a compression test, $276. Remove cats and tweak tune, $300. For a grand total, $1,928.96. Ouch. So I'm glad all that stuff was figured out and taken care of, because I decided to make this 2007 Dodge Charger Daytona my daily driver. I enjoy driving this thing so much. It's a treat to drive it every day, I'll tell you that. So there it is. That's a big bill for the Daytona, a big hit. So I'm gonna have to start calling this thing the Big Hurt too, along with the Hellcat. Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll catch you on the next one.